Hi there, Deidre Kennedy here from the Pacifica Historical Society, and tonight's hostess of the show, Footprints of Pacifica. We get together every week to discover and explore the lure and the lore of Pacifica, its character and its characters. The focus of today's show is the Pacifica Coastside Museum, its past and future. I'd like to introduce my guest, Paul Slavin, President of the Pacifica Historical Society. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Deidre. Thanks for having me.
May I offer my congratulations on your election as President of the Society?
Well, thank you. Believe me, I had second thoughts about following the long and successful tenure of Kathleen Manning. But there's such exciting prospects for the museum I felt I had to accept.
Really?
Yes. Kathleen Kathleen made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
She can be very persuasive.
Yes, she can. It was her powers of persuasion, I think, that kept the Historical Society together for the over 14 years it took to renovate the Little Brown Church and open the Pacifica Coastside Museum.
I've got some photos here showing the renovation over the years.
Oh, let's take a look.
Yes. This was taken in 2005, and it's as an example of the bees that were found in both the north and the south walls of the museum. They tore off the old drywall, and that was waiting for us. There were also critters in the tower as well. Then we have other photos and things that have happened all through the 14 years that you mentioned, and the greater part of a $500,000 renovation, led by Shirley Gibbs and her renovation committee. Here's an example of the
They're taking off
rafters.
The old drywall.
Yes, they took the drywall off the main room, what was once the sanctuary of the Little Brown Church, and as you can see, it was to the studs renovation, and all of that needed to be taken apart. We want to be sure and thank the Pacifica Islanders for their demo assistance. Those great big strong guys just pulled it all down and filled 2 entire debris dumpsters.
Right.
And Recology had a great part in helping us with that, with those dumpsters as well. Those debris boxes were integral. Yeah. And we also have examples of the renovation from 2010, just a very few photos. We have the original beater board that was shown, and that is...
There it is.
The 1908 beater board that was installed by Matt Anderson when he built the original structure in 1909 and 1910. And there's a young volunteer up there helping us out with that. And through the years, it was just a wonderful community effort. So many businesses, so many individuals, volunteers. I refer to it as our all-volunteer army of just stalwart members. We're so faithful in coming out on work days. Here's another example of some of the work that was done. We've had just a wonderful response from the community, and I just have to give Shirley credit and her restoration committee. Wonderful.
It was a tremendous effort, you know, on the behalf of many people in our community, and of course it was necessitated by the fact that when the police department, the last civic occupant of the building, moved out, the building was a wreck. It had bees in the wall, as you can see, and everything was, and the city was just going to tear it down.
Oh, what a loss that would have been.
But then, you know, certain people called Baldwin, foremost amongst them, stepped forward. They formed a Save the Little Brown Church committee, and the Pacifica Historical Society pretty much picked it up from there. Circulated petitions to get enough signatures to put the question on the ballot. The city, as I said, would rather have torn the building down, and it took quite an effort to get a winning vote together to save the building. So the city gave us permission to renovate it at our own expense.
It was quite an expense and quite an effort.
Quite.
Just some of the things that took place over the years, rummage sales and concerts and castle tours, and the wonderful Coastside community and the citizens of Pacifica came forward and supported us in those efforts.
We had a lot of contributions of labor, material, some money, certainly.
The Lions Club, instrumental.
The Lions Club is tremendous.
Wonderful. The Moose Lodge, so many. Too many to mention, really.
Yeah.
And if you want to see those many contributors, they're in the foyer, which I call our foyer of fame, in the entrance of the Pacifica Coastside Museum.
Right.
It's a wonderful listing of the folks that have helped us in so many ways.
Just inside those beautiful mahogany doors donated by the Moose Lodge.
Yes, that's right. We have photographs of those, of the Moose Lodge doors that were donated, and we. This is also a picture of the Terra Nova shop instructors that made our beautiful sign, Mr. Ramirez and Mr. Crowley.
That was of course made to duplicate the original Little Brown Church sign.
Right. We have to thank Clarenda Campagna for organizing that effort. And here are the beautiful doors we mentioned from the Moose. That's John Maria and believe
Jerry in the background?
Jerry Crow in the background, right. Varnishing the doors and installing the hardware. Thank you to Mr. Hertzel. He was also on the restoration committee for coordinating the ADA requirements. Dave Hertzel, right. That was really a wonderful service he gave to us with that assistance, because they're complicated, they're confusing, and those regulations have to be met just to a T. There's another shot of John and Jerry in the door installation.
Right.
The original doorway had to be raised probably 18 inches or so to accommodate those marvelous mahogany doors.
Right. And as you know, as far as what when we got permission to do the renovation, we of course had to bring everything up to code, which meant the ADA code. So we had to have those signs out there. We also had to have the elevator installed inside. I don't know if we have a photo of that.
Mr. Bellely was one of the...
There he is.
Yes, there's Eric Bellely helping us install the lift, and it's been marvelous. We've had folks in life support wheelchairs, very large wheelchairs that are life support wheelchairs, come in at the handicapped entrance and go right to our gallery on the 3rd level. And that is marvelous. And before you know it, we'll be using them. So there we are. We're so thankful for that. And we also have a beautiful ADA bathroom that is of service to everyone. It's just a lovely work done there.
That was tremendous.
Yes. So we would like to discuss with our viewers plans for the new museum.
Well, I'll tell you what, Deidre. Let me read you, as I'm sure you've seen before, the mission statement for the museum, which I had here just a moment ago. And there it is. The primary mission of the Pacifica Coastside Museum is to share the history and heritage of the city of Pacifica and our unique coastal environment with the general public through cultural exhibits and educational programming. The museum will collect, preserve, and present artifacts, archives, and information of specific relevance to our area, and act as a community resource for the study, appreciation, and enjoyment of its collection. Now that's a mouthful, but basically, it's pretty straightforward. We have a good deal of archives we've been keeping for years that we just now have to sort out. We have some very interesting artifacts, and we will be putting these on display. And as a matter of fact, we have some displays erected already.
How do you propose to implement our mission statement?
Well, was obviously going to take some restructuring. We've been operating for years and just renovating the Little Brown Church. And now we have to operate the Pacifica Coastside Museum. So that was going to take some restructuring. One thing that we did, and by we I mean the board of directors of the Pacifica Historical Society, we established a smaller committee to just oversee the day-to-day operations of the museum.
What's the name of that committee?
That is the Museum Executive Committee. There are 5 members of it. I am the chairman of that as the president of the Pacifica Historical Society. That ensures a close cooperation between the society and the museum. We have a museum director, who is yourself, of course. And the museum director oversees the administration of the museum, the scheduling of events, works with everyone that has anything to do with the museum.
It's a privilege.
The volunteers.
Yes.
Jerry Crow is our curator. Jerry's responsible for all the exhibits and displays. Marv Morgani is in charge of he's our educational director. And Marvin is developing programs to, as we say, bring the museum experience into our schools, in our classrooms. And Kathleen Manning is our retail manager, manages the museum store, and that ensures that we keep her institutional knowledge of many years close at hand. So the 5 of us will form this one committee, and we will all discuss all the different aspects of operating the museum, and we all will have subcommittees devoted just to our own particular sphere of influence within the museum. And we'll see how well that works. We report every month, of course, to the board of directors of the Historical Society, under whose auspices we do what we do.
Yes, it's a grand adventure ahead.
I think so. It's going to be very exciting. It's been very exciting so far.
Yes, it has. Yeah. What are some of the exhibits that are featured at the museum now?
Well, right now we have, say, 4 main displays. We have an exhibit on the Ocean Shore Railroad. We have an exhibit on the history of the building the tunnels here through Devil's Slide. We have a display of the Portola expedition that discovered San Francisco Bay, or the European discovery of San Francisco Bay from Sweeney Ridge here in Pacifica. And then we've got a really delightful display of early surfing in Pacifica. A lot of the early shots from the 30s and 40s, the Keating family, of course, of Pacifica. Those are the main ones we've had. We've had, during the Fog Fest, we had a display of posters. We had a poster for every year from the Fog Fest has been presented, and
30 years worth.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I thought people really enjoyed that, and we're going to rotate the exhibits. As we'll be letting one go soon, I'm sure, and putting another one up. But it just depends on, we have to work within our resources, and
yes.
And that, of course, is the controlling aspect right now.
Yes, I'd like to mention to our viewers that we're open on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. Come on by and see these exhibits that Paul has mentioned to us. And also we have the building available for rental. Just give me a call. area code 650-303-1670. I'll be happy to explain our rental policies. It's a very reasonable rental, and I want to put a little commercial in there for that. And again,
we've had some very happy clients already that
yes,
have rented
we have
the space.
It's a very versatile space. That main room is large and beautiful, and it's a fun place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're easy to do business with.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Paul. That's just a marvelous description of what's ahead for us. We have so many things to look forward to, and we encourage folks to join the Historical Society, yes, and help us with this grand thing. We have many plans ahead, and I'm just really excited about this. At the University of California at Davis, I studied museum, was part of the Museum Studies program under the auspices of my mentor, Dr. Joseph Baird, Jr., and he first encouraged me in working in museums, and I was able to intern at the Crocker Museum in Sacramento, at the DeYoung in San Francisco, and at the Legion of Honor. And so that small amount of experience interested me in my volunteer work here.
Well, I'm glad it moved you in our direction.
Thank you.
Deidre, I don't know what we'd do there without you.
Thank you.
Really keep
That's
everything
very kind.
together.
That's very kind.
And it's very true also that we need all the help we can get. There's so many things to do. There's so many stories in Pacifica that we could tell if we had the resources and the personnel to help us uncover them and form them into exhibits and get them up on display.
One example of the archival work being done by Jerry Crow and Pat McCarthy Kremer is certain requests we had for someone developing a deck of playing cards, and they were putting beautiful examples of a particular architect's work on them. And Oceana High School was designed by a renowned Italian architect, and they needed a photograph of that, early photograph of the high school when it was new. And Jerry found the photograph and gave it to the woman, and she was able to use it and for her deck of playing cards that she's developing. And we've also had family members with history here, that have, and they've asked us. We had even the skate park people come and ask us for an example of their opening ceremonies 10 years ago. It doesn't seem a skate park has been open 10 years, but it has been.
Oh,
and our wonderful team of clippers went right to the archives, and they found the photo spread that was in the Tribune, and we were able to give that to the skate park folks, and they used that in their 10-year celebration. We've had, and these are just a few examples. We've been open since August 22nd of 2015 was our opening, gala opening. Wasn't that a party?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That was a party. We hosted on the 21st, that Friday evening, we hosted a gala opening for the benefactors and the worker bees. And then the next day, on Saturday, we had the official opening with the dignitaries and a wonderful gathering of folks celebrating this very special day. And we've been open, as I said, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 1 to 4 ever since.
And you know, we should take this opportunity to ask our viewers out there if they have any old artifacts or pictures of Pacifica or of the area. We'd love to see them. The most ordinary objects, if they're old enough, are very interesting to us and could well wind up, you know, being in one of our exhibits. So so don't hesitate. You know, we'd love to see pictures of Grandma and Grandpa and anything else you've got from back then, huh?
Yes, we have also received from the Sam Mazza Foundation. They donated an ancient old copper wash tub, and when we had the second graders from Ocean Shore School visiting, did they enjoy seeing this old wringer washing machine?
That was the washing machine.
Yes,
yeah,
with
right,
the wringers,
yeah.
and then I lifted off the copper lid. It was a copper tub, and there were the agitator was a plunger type agitator, and those kids, they couldn't believe their little eyeballs just bugged out, and they couldn't believe that that's how they washed clothes back then. And most everyone, especially of our vintage, remembers our grandmothers used those very same wringer washing machines. And we were so lucky to receive that donation. And thanks again to Jeanette Kuhl for her help with that. And ongoing, we're going to fund the museum with rummage sales every month. The second weekend of every month we'll have rummage sales. We have a variety of events. We have quarterly meetings that we'd like to invite the public to. And those will be advertised in the Tribune as well as on other social media.
I think the next quarterly meeting is March 20th.
Yes, yes. And so we're just moving forward with this beautiful structure. And thank you again to Shirley Gibbs and her renovation committee for all the work they did over the years, unfailingly. And what was the word you used? Indomitable?
Indomitable. Shirley Gibbs is actually.
Yes.
You can. There is no stopping Shirley when she puts her mind on a project.
Right. So how do you see the Pacifica Coastside Museum blending with the Pacifica Historical Society? Do you see them supporting each other?
Hand in hand.
Yes. Real team.
Absolutely. We're going to need all the resources of the Historical Society. The fact is that the Historical Society has other projects going on. I should say, I was going to say they, but certainly it's we, are involved in the restoration of Car 1409 of the Ocean Shore Railroad, which is going to be a very big project.
Yes.
We're doing that mural on the beachfront mural down on Crespi Drive,
yes.
and many other smaller projects that we haven't, that aren't, usually aware. The public is usually not aware of, and so they have a lot more to work on than just the museum.
Right.
We are going to try to concentrate mostly just on the museum, the Museum Executive Committee. And we urge you all to come by. Soon you'll be hearing of us in the schools as we get our programs into the classrooms, and we'll be bringing classes into the museum also, as we have already done. And it works out pretty good for everybody.
It certainly does. The second graders from Ocean Shore School walked from Ocean Shore, which is in Pacific Manor. They walked on their little feet all the way to Sharp Park, to Salada and 1850 Francisco Boulevard at Salada, where we're located. And they were in 3 teams. And Jerry Crow helped them upstairs and explained all the exhibits to them at their level. Mary Doherty was able to work on a quilting craft with them, and they enjoyed that immensely. And I explained an early telephone. I did have 30 years experience in another life with AT&T, so I was all about the telephone, and we did a telephone with tin cans and string. They so enjoyed that. And early typewriters, all they see now are computer keyboards. They said, "What is that?" And they said, "Well, that's a typewriter," and that's what we had to use years ago. We had several examples of 1920 typewriters that have been donated over the years, and they so enjoyed the manual typewriter, and it was such a simple thing, but I had to drag them away from the typewriters. It was just delightful. And then they shared, they had their lunch with us, and walked back to Ocean Shore School, which is just I'm very proud of them. And they had parent volunteers.
It wasn't just getting out of class you think that they enjoyed.
No, they learned things. They learned things, and they had appreciation for something other than what they have their own daily experience. They were able to peek into the past. Thanks to the Pacifica Coastside Museum, they were able to see how other people lived and what the tools they had to use. And we are going to have other examples of those things. We found one artifact that came in not a couple of months ago was an old scythe that someone had found in a field. And this old scythe was a rusted blade, and it just looked like something that Father Time would use. But it's a beautiful curved oak blade, oak handle that saw many years of use. And what a treat to have that in our collection. And if other folks have things to bring in, we're certainly, though we have space issues, selected items would be most appreciated. And if there are photographs, again, the photographs and family movies that people have, we're glad to take, if they could lend them to us to take copies of, we'll return them in excellent condition. And we would be so grateful for even the simplest little birthday parties or family weddings in the Little Brown Church, or photographs of weddings in the Little Brown Church, or something we would really like to add to our collection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So Paul, I'm just so thankful that we have your leadership to look forward to, and the leadership of the Museum Executive Committee. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be worthwhile. It's going to be something we can provide the City of Pacifica and the Coastside. You just never know where the requests are going to be coming from.
Right.
There are folks calling about research they're working with. We have one fellow now writing a book about a trip his grandmother took on the coast in 1925, and they camped out in Salada Beach, which was long before it was Shark Park and before it was Pacifica. It was called Salada Beach. And they had a car camping trip, and we're helping them find maybe where that was. We don't know where it was, but we're helping them and helping him in his research for his book.
Well, they were on a road that was pioneered by the Ocean Shore Railroad, that's for sure.
That's right. They flattened out the roadbed, and they built Highway 1 in 1922, and we that began car traffic right in front of us.
Right.
But it's so interesting to see the Ocean Shore Railroad and how it evolved part of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this evening. I want to thank you, Paul Slavin, for joining us here today and sharing your vision. I want to thank the Pacifica Historical Society for having this wonderful way of preserving history. If you want to get involved with the Pacifica Historical Society and our many projects, our address is P.O. Box 752, Pacifica 94044. Our telephone number is 650-355-1909. And thank you for watching our show. And let us remember Mr. Winston and his Longfellow quotation, "Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints in the sands of time."